Okay, so section 3 of the Glass Castle, we're going to be going from a few days later up to page 21-ish. We will stop at Do You Like Always? Sorry, to page 16. Okay, so Do You Like Always? A few days after Mom and Dad brought me home, I cooked myself some hot dogs. I was hungry. Mom was at work painting, and no one else was there to fix them for me. Good for you, Mom said when she saw me cooking. You've got to get right back in the saddle. You can't live in fear of something as basic as fire. I didn't. Instead, I became fascinated with it. Dad also thought I should face down my enemy, and he showed me how to pass my finger through the candle flame. I did it over and over, slowing my finger with each pass, watching the way it seemed to cut the flame in half, testing to see how much my finger could endure without actually getting burned. I was always on the lookout for bigger fires. Whenever the neighbors burned trash, I ran over and watched the blaze trying to escape the garbage can. I'd inch closer and closer, feeling the heat against my face until I got so near that it became unbearable, and then I'd back away just enough to be able to stand it. The neighbor lady who had driven me to the hospital was surprised that I didn't run in the opposite direction from any fire I saw. Why the hell would she? Dad bellowed with a proud grin. She already fought the fire once and won. I started stealing matches from Dad. I'd go behind the trailer and light them. I loved the scratching sound of the match against the sandpapery brown strip when I struck it, and the way the flame leaped out of the red-coated tip and pop with a hiss. I'd feel its heat near my fingertips, then I'd wave it triumphantly. I'd lift pieces of paper and little piles of brush and held my breath until the moment when they seemed about to blaze up out of control. Then I'd stomp on the flames and call out the curse words Dad used, like "dun-ass son of a bitch" and "cocksucker." One time I went out back with my favorite toy, a plastic Tinkerbell figurine. She was 2 inches tall with yellow hair pulled up in a high ponytail and her hands on her hips in a confident, cocky way that I admired. I lit a match and held it close to Tinkerbell's face to show her how I felt. She looked even more beautiful in the flame's glow. When that match went out, I lit another one, and this time I held it really close to Tinkerbell's face. Suddenly, her eyes grew wide, as if with fear. I realized to my horror that her face was starting to melt. I put out the match. It was too late. Tinkerbell's once perfect little nose had completely disappeared, and her saucy red lips had been replaced with an ugly, lopsided smear. I tried to smooth her features back the way they had been, but I made them even worse. Almost immediately, her face cooled and hardened again. I put bandages on it. I wished I could perform a skin graft on Tinkerbell, but that would have meant cutting her into pieces. Even though her face was melted, she was still my favorite toy. Dad came home in the middle of the night a few months later and roused us all from bed. "Time to pull up stakes and leave this shithole behind," he hollered. We had 15 minutes to gather whatever we needed and pile into the car. "Is everything okay, Dad?" I asked. "Is someone after us?" "Don't you worry," Dad said. "You leave that to me. Don't I always take care of you?" "Of course you do," I said. "That's my girl," Dad said with a hug, then barked orders to us all to speed things up. He took the essentials, a big black cast iron skillet, the Dutch oven, some army supply tin plates, a few knives, his pistol, and Mom's archery set, and packed them in the trunk of the Blue Goose. He said we shouldn't take much else, that was just what we needed to survive. Mom hurried out to the yard and started digging holes by the light of the moon, looking for our jar of cash. She had forgotten where she buried it. An hour passed before we finally tied Mom's paintings on the top of the car, shoved whatever would fit in the trunk, and piled the overflow on the back seat and on the car floor. Dad steered the Blue Goose through the dark, driving slowly as to not alert anyone in the trailer park that we were, as Dad liked to put it, doing the skedaddle. He was grumbling that he couldn't understand why the hell it took so long to grab what we needed and haul our asses into the car. "Dad," I said, "I forgot Tinkerbell." "Tinkerbell can make it on her own," Dad said. "She's like my brave little girl. You are brave and ready for adventure, right?" "I guess," I said. I hoped whoever found Tinkerbell would love her despite her melted face. For comfort, I tried to cradle Quixote, our gray and white cat who was missing an ear, but he growled and scratched at my face. "Quiet, Quixote," I said. "Cats don't like to travel," Mom explained. Anyone who didn't like to travel wasn't invited to our adventure, Dad said. He stopped the car, grabbed Quixote by the scruff of the neck, and tossed him out the window. Quixote landed with a screeching meow and thud. Dad accelerated up the road, and I burst into tears. Don't be so sentimental, Mom said. She told me we could always get another cat, and now Quixote was going to be a wild cat, which was much more fun than being a house cat. Brian, afraid that Dad might toss Juju out the window as well, held the dog tight. To distract us kids, Mom got us singing things like Don't Fence Me In and This Land Is Your Land, and Dad taught us arousing renditions of Old Man River and his favorite Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. After a while, I forgot about Quixote and Tinkerbell and the friends I'd left behind in the trailer park. Dad started telling us all about the exciting things we were going to do and how we were going to get rich once we reached the new place where we were going to live. Where are we going, Dad? I asked. Wherever we end up, he said. Later that night, Dad stopped the car in the middle of the desert and we slept under the stars. We had no pillows, but Dad said that was part of his plan. He was teaching us how to have good posture. The Indians didn't use pillows either, he explained, and look how straight they stood. We did have our scratchy army surplus blankets, so we spread them out and lay there looking up at the field of stars. I told Lori how lucky we were to be sleeping out under the sky like Indians. We could live like this forever, I said. I think we're going to, she said. Okay, so that's the end of that section. The next section is section 4, and it starts with we are always doing the skedaddle, and according to our reading calendar, we read from that page up to page 21, where it is after we pulled up. So I'll do that next reading section in a bit.